Hello! Today I bring you a review of Birch's Orphans of the Carnival. This is the first book I've ever had the chance to read before the publication date, so that was very exciting. This is being published by Canongate Books and is out on the 1st of September. Sadly, that's where the good news ends because I really didn't like this book. Firstly, I will say that I think the reason I didn't like this book is actually, funnily enough, the reason that a lot of people didn't like The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. I felt as though first the focus was in the wrong place, but I'll start with the sort of what it's about. So this is based on a real life woman who lived in the 1700s and was sort of paraded around. She was like a really hairy woman. It's never really, I don't know if it was ever known why she was like she was. There was actually a picture of the real life woman posted on Goodreads, which was quite interesting to see if you're interested in checking that out. Obviously, Birch saw this picture and found out a bit about this woman and decided to write a book about her, much like Jessie Burton saw the Doll's House in the museum in Amsterdam and wanted to write a book about that. My problems with this book, and there were quite a few, predominantly was that I was so bored. If I wasn't reviewing this as an advanced copy, I don't think I would have finished this, which was really upsetting because I so wanted to enjoy it and I got 50% through and was just didn't want to continue. I just had no connection to the characters. The reason, and I gave this 2 stars, it would have been 3 stars, but the main thing that bothered me was that the point of view was so badly done because it just switched, like literally you would start a sentence in Julia's point of view and you would end it in somebody else's. That was how bad the point of view was, and I just was reading it and thinking, how on earth did an editor not pick up on this, because it is so bad. I've never read a book with more of an all over the place point of view, and that is one thing that is really a bugbear with me because it's such a basic thing and it was so poorly done. Also, this is sort of a split story, so we follow Julia, or everybody else, as it were, in the end with the point of view issues. We follow her story and then we follow somebody in the future who is just pointless. I really didn't like it. It wasn't even alternating chapters, it was just every 100 pages or so we'd have this one pop-up chapter from this other character, Rose, who I assume was meant to be a reincarnation of Julia in some form or other. But really, the links were tenuous. I mean, the only thing really that was connecting the two was that Rose also liked to pick up junk and Julia had this connection with a stick with a rag on it for some reason. That was the only connection with them really, and also about halfway through Rose finds what was presumably a flyer for Julia's show in Mexico, but the link was so tenuous and the second story just didn't need to be there. So when I was on Rose's chapters, I just didn't even pay attention. I couldn't even tell you. It was just unnecessary, and I felt like it was just trying to be a dual narrative, but there was just no need for it, and that really irritates me. And also, just Julia's sections weren't interesting at all. It wasn't, I think for me, I thought it was going to be focused on sort of the carnival and the idea of the freak show and things like that, which would have been possibly problematic but interesting for me to read about. But it's not really about that. In fact, we never even really learn much about that aspect of Julia's life or about what her show actually is. We're told she tours and that she does shows and she sings and dances, but the focus isn't on that at all. I suppose really this focuses on, and this annoyed the feminist part of me as well, this kind of focuses on the men that trade Julia and the men that are interested in owning her and displaying her. And that was irritating because I think the story should have been with Julia. It was Julia's story. Why are we looking at the men who are interested in parading her around? And it wasn't even like we were looking at them in a villainous way. It was just that was what the story was about, these men trading her about. And then her final man, Theo, ends up proposing to her because he doesn't want to lose her to another man. And it's never thought, oh, well, she wouldn't like that because, you know, there's no romance between them. It's obvious he's just using her. No, she's like, oh, a man has proposed to me. I must accept him straight away. Really? So that really bugged me. And we kind of end up in Theo's point of view randomly halfway through. I don't even know how it happens. But we go from Julia's sections being kind of in Julia's perspective to being completely in Theo's perspective, which is irritating in itself. And I just didn't I thought the focus was completely wrong myself. I would not have written it in the point of view of these men, because these men are quite dull. And also, I think the story would have been a lot more fascinating if we focused on Julia's aspect and the actual shows that she was performing and how she really felt about them. We kind of go into how she feels about it, but not really, to be honest, and that bit doesn't last for very long. Quite a harrowing section in here towards the beginning, when Julia strays out alone and she has to wear a veil to hide her face when she's out. But she strays out alone, which she's not meant to do, and ends up being cornered by a group of children. And it's kind of, it really touched me because it was their sort of attitude of, take your veil off, we want to see you, you know, we demand to see you. And it was kind of this, they felt like they had a right to stare at her, and you know, but even then we didn't really go into how Julia felt about the fact that they felt that they had a right to stare at her. I really didn't like, I really couldn't recommend it. It was a slog. It was a complete slog. I have to say, I read the last half quickly and it kind of got a bit better, but not really. So I really wasn't a fan, which is really sad because I really wanted to be. But never mind. You live and you learn. So that was my review, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye.